everybody, and welcome to the Lashes and Sashes podcast. I am so excited today for our very, very special guest, who is not only this year's Miss Central Florida's teen, but also my little sister. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Charisma Tran.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you and to, just talk about pageants and what it was like growing up doing pageants together. Could you start off by just telling the people listening a little bit more about you?
Yes, so my name is Charisma. I am a dancer and I am going to be a senior in high school. I absolutely love doing all things artsy, like pageants, modeling, dancing, arts and crafts, trash fashion. So I am very creative and I hope to share that with you guys.
Awesome. And okay, so I do know the answer from my perspective, but I guess I want to hear from your perspective first how you got started in pageants.
Okay, so I don't exactly know how I started in pageants, but it was just kind of a thing that I grew up doing. I would go to one pretty often, either watching, competing, or just making an appearance. I felt like pageants were almost a hobby that I would do like very, very often. But I'm so glad that I got into them and I'm doing one right now because it's really helped me grow my confidence and speak on things that I'm passionate about.
Oh, that's so nice to hear. Makes me so happy. So, before I jump into how you started from my perspective, what are those things that you feel so passionate about that you've seen through pageantry?
Well, definitely the arts. I love to share about my dance experience and all things like that. I also love speaking on my platform, Youth Enrichment and Senior Services. I have been a part of this platform since I was 6 years old, and together we have hosted over 120 events for the senior citizen with
Hmm.
funding and hosting by our youth members.
Awesome. Okay. So, yes, I will interject just because I am your older sister, so I I feel like I remember some more things just because you were so young that
Mhm.
um when mom was pregnant with you, I think I was about 12 or 13 years old. I would literally rub mom's stomach and I'd be like, I hope she likes pageants. I hope she's into the same things I am. Oh my gosh. And the first pageant we put you in, you were 2 months old. So clearly you have no memory of that whatsoever. And it was a mother daughter daughter pageant. And we all won, crazy enough. So then over the years, I think you were involved. But I do want to ask, what is your earliest memory related to pageants that you can think of?
So definitely this pageant system called Miss American Coed. I would
Okay.
go to the pageant almost every year, I remember. And there was this party called the Cookie Party,
Hmm.
where we would basically share a bunch of cookies and do this big gift exchange. And when we did the gift exchange, all of the queens would put their gifts in a trash bag. So I remember getting a big trash bag full of goodies from all the other queens and getting to eat all the little snacks and see the pictures, the goodies. It was so, so much fun being a part of that system. And the cookie party was literally my favorite ever. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I think you were 4 years old when you competed in that pageant because you were born the year I made top five in the victory pageant. And then it was like, and before you were even born, I had done that pageant for like 4 or 5 years. Then you were
Mhm.
born, and then you did the pageant for 4 or 5 years, and then you won victory. So it's just crazy how all these things are full circle, just like Miss Central Florida's teen. It's wild
Hey.
to me. Um, so I guess again, with you growing up doing pageants, kind of back to that childhood of it when you were like a 4 year old toddler, when you remember doing it, or preteen even. How was your experience competing in pageants alongside with me or even with mom or some of your other friends as a kid?
It was so amazing getting to compete with family because you guys were my biggest fans and my biggest supporters. So getting to have help from you and mom and also just being with my friends in pageants was such a great experience, and that's what made me love it so much, was having such amazing supporters. So I'm so glad that I got to do them with you.
Yay! I'm so glad to hear that. So then, when did you transition over from pageants onto dancing?
So I sort of kind of stopped doing pageants for a good 5 years, and it was a pretty long break. But basically, that's when I started to take dance more seriously. I started dance in fourth grade, and it was actually because I was going to a singing event because I used to sing all the time when I was little. And I think we confused the dates or something, but I ended up passing by this dance school, and my mom was like, let's go in and see what's this about. And
Oh,
I grew so much as a dancer, and that became one of my main focuses. So I'm so glad that I got to become a dancer and also build my artistic skills.
that's so crazy that you say that because I remember you did used to sing a lot, and again, full circle, funny enough, it was because you were the sunshine princess of Ashley Innes, and
Hmm.
her family does a lot of singing and performances throughout all of Orlando. I think that's why you were so involved in like singing. And like, let's not forget too. I mean, I guess I should even ask like your modeling and commercial print experiences. Like, do you even remember some of those like filming things you used to do as a kid too? And I mean, even now as a teenager?
Of course, I remember it. I honestly, one of my biggest memories whenever I was doing commercials or print work, it was always getting a bunch of different snacks. I remember our dad, he used to be really strict on like eating chips or junk food and sugar. So getting to go to those commercials and just binge on all of the different cookies and treats was a big highlight for me. But I do also remember some of the shooting and just dressing up and having fun.
Yeah. I mean, you really did like some cool jobs back when I feel like Disney Channel and Nickelodeon was at their peak. Like we would see you on TV with I don't know if it was a pillow pet or like a hideaway pet, but you were the only one that said something and you were like, "We love to cuddle." And you had like the mermaid tails and different blankets and all those like call to order your next kid's toy today. Like you were really big on those types of commercials and stuff.
Yes, those were definitely some of my favorite kinds of commercials, was playing with toys, because I feel like that's something that really resonated with me as a kid, was playing with toys.
Yeah. And I think I was even there for that commercial. And I remember that whole row of just Rice Krispie treats all in this section. And then there was even like a massage chair for the parents. And I was like, okay, I'm not a parent, I'm not an actor. So I'm just kind of staying in the middle here. But it was still like such a cool experience for even me to watch you do that. And then recently you did a commercial with Busch Gardens, right?
Yes, I think this was 2 years ago, but
Okay.
got to ride the rides and just walk around the park, eat some popcorn and cotton candy. It was really fun. But I did end up riding the rides a little too much. I think I rode this. This is the one that I did it for. It was called Iron Gwazi,
Uh huh.
and is, I believe, the tallest, fastest, steepest roller coaster.
Holy
And
cow.
so I rode that 7 times, and after that, I ended up throwing up because it was definitely a lot, but it was really fun.
I will say, I actually, that's deja vu because I wasn't a principal on a Busch Gardens commercial. Brandon and I were extras. And I think the second time I rode, I don't think it was Muntu. It was like a newer ride early in the morning at 6 a.m. I also threw up and I was like, I can't do this. Like, let me play with the animals. So, totally understand. It's not all that easy, but those pictures looked so cute, especially with your little bubble pony and everything.
Oh. Yeah, we actually had to go through 7 different hairstyles. They kept doing
Really?
them to the director, and he was like, change it, change it. So
Wow.
it was a
Do you
long
have
process.
pictures of every hairstyle? Because now I'm curious what other looks you can do for pageants or modeling or what have you.
I'm not sure. It was a lot of braids and updos because my hair is super long. So going on a roller coaster with a ponytail like that, it was just flying all around.
I can imagine you like whipping someone with your hair, especially with how heavy and how much of it you have. Must have been crazy.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So then tell me why now you decided to compete in the Miss Florida's Outstanding Teen System after your 5 year hiatus from pageantry.
So honestly, when I stopped, it was just kind of like a fear of speaking, a fear of onstage question and interview. And I'm really glad that I kind of overcame that with help of mentors, you, a coach, and it was just kind of like scary for me to do pageants, and that's why I stopped. But I'm really, really glad that I started it again. And honestly, I started because I just wanted to wear all the beautiful clothes in our bonus room. We have a big collection of gowns and different pageant clothing, and I was like, someone's got to put this to use.
A
So,
hundred percent.
and now I'm here and I'm going to the Miss Florida pageant at the end of June. I'm so excited. So, yeah, I'm really glad that I got back into it though.
Me too. Honestly, I always thought you would have been so good at the Miss Florida's teen program, especially like for me growing up doing it, I saw how much value, like even now 15 years later, that kind of like shaped my life and like the direction that it has now gone to. But it is amazing for me to see now that as you are a local title holder, like you're putting yourself out there, you're making reels about your platform and your nonprofit work, and it's like you've actually been doing all these amazing things your whole life. I just have to say, as like an older sister, like I am so proud of you for putting yourself out of your comfort zone and practicing your speaking and getting better at it each and every day.
Yes, and that's something that's been so helpful when I started getting back into pageantry was that when I stopped, I never stopped volunteering. I was always really involved with my community. I would visit different nursing homes and homeless shelters. So having that volunteer experience has been really helpful within my pageant journey so far.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's almost like I don't even think we as a family realized it because you've basically been ingrained in it your whole life. Like when we had Teens Go Green or Model for Miracles, sure, you were 3, 4, even 5 years old at some point, but you're still like moving different materials, you're still sorting the labels out or like taking the peels off the trophies and labeling it as like miracle winner for the charity stuff. So I mean honestly feel like since you were born, or I guess maybe like 4 or 5, you've done some sort of volunteer service community thing once a week, like minimum, honestly.
Yes, I actually realized it. Over the school year, I volunteered almost every single day except
Mhm.
Saturdays. And this was because in school, I would have a class where I would volunteer with a special needs preschool and help out in their artwork and their circle time. And then on Wednesdays, I would visit my dance studio as a youth mentor to help out with the younger kids so that they could learn different techniques and skills. And on the weekends, I would do my yes work, so youth enrichment and senior services. I would help with Orlando Young Lions, which is our youth department of that. And we would do traditional Chinese lion dancing. So, yeah, I was very involved.
Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, I didn't even realize because again, like I hear and talk to you and see you all the time. I mean, even in terms of other projects that you're involved in too, to be the sugar plum fairy in the chocolate nutcracker is so cool. Like, can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, so being a part of this chocolate nutcracker family has been so amazing for me because performing in the Dr. Phillips Center was something that I wanted to do for such a long time. If you know, it's that big, beautiful stage, even the entrance. just like, wow. But getting to perform on the stage as a beautiful sugar plum fairy with my tutu and my tiara was such an amazing experience. I felt so beautiful. But also, I love the cause of the chocolate nutcracker because we're promoting diversity for dancers and we're giving dancers that don't have the opportunity to perform an opportunity to learn about ballet. Actually, I'm going to be teaching a ballet class for underprivileged dancers as well soon, and I'm really excited about that.
That's amazing. Is that affiliated with Chocolate Nutcracker, Central Florida Ballet, some other group that you're involved in that I don't know? Like,
No, we're with the Chocolate Nutcracker, and it's really nice to get to collaborate with the same people again. They're so amazing.
they're amazing. And honestly, when I watched it at first, I didn't know what to expect. And I enjoyed the performances so much. I would even argue it's more entertaining than the original Nutcracker, just because there is not just diversity in representation of people and dancers that are a part of it, but this unique storyline, this variety and mix of music. And I think it's so cool that you got to take such a large role and even have like a poster at the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center, which is like probably the most stunning theater in Central Florida. Like that was so cool. And I think the opportunities that you've been able to do and volunteer with them is just incredible.
I know it was so exciting for me to be driving past the Dr. Phillips Center, and I just saw all the beautiful signs of me as the Sugar Plum Fairy along the entrance, and then also stage door. I was like, oh, this is amazing. It was so much fun getting to see all that.
Going back to your community service initiative, youth enrichment and senior services.
Yes.
Okay, so what does all of that encompass essentially? And then what are your favorite parts of doing that?
So, this platform actually means a lot to me since I was born growing up without grandparents. So, I kind of longed for that intergenerational connection. And being a part of youth enrichment and senior services has helped me grow my connections with the elderly, share different stories, but also help out with the youth generation and let them build their connections with the elderly as well. So, for our youth, we have Orlando Young Lions, where we learn traditional Chinese lion dancing, drums, cymbals, gong, and all things like that. So, they definitely get some exercise, but it's also a great free activity for kids. And then for our seniors, we go out and perform as Orlando Young Lions all around Florida for different charity events, weddings, birthday parties. And then with the funding from that, we host events for the senior citizens. So we recently did a luau for the seniors. It was so much fun because they got to dance and do a little hula. And yeah, it's just amazing how we get to connect with them and really grow and learn.
How many senior service events do you think you guys host in a year? Because like you also do like Mother's Day and like different holidays and stuff, right?
Yes, we do one once for the seniors. And sometimes we even get our lions to perform for them during Chinese New Year and different events like that.
Cool, cool. So do you guys work with a lot of like nursing homes and programs like that?
Yes, so besides our monthly events for our Yes members, we go out and visit different nursing homes. During Chinese New Year, we always visit Harbor Chase, which is one of my favorite nursing homes, but we
Yeah.
perform our lions and we do a little trivia, some fun things like that. We recently also visited another nursing home and we taught them how to make origami and different cultural things. And another thing we did was we made bracelets with some of the senior citizens, but it's not exactly all about the activities that we're doing, but it's giving them a voice and letting them share their stories because I feel a lot of them struggle with loneliness and being
Mhm.
overlooked. So getting to have someone to speak to is really important as a senior, and I'm so glad that we provide that for them.
That's so amazing. I mean, now that you mention it, it actually does remind me a lot of like Amanda Ing, when she was Miss Charity, she like for Model for Miracles all those years ago, she also like now I'm like connecting the dots like wow, she also had a platform that was so focused on like connecting the generational gaps and seniors, and that was what she did in her hometown in South Florida. But now I see you also doing that here, and again just the programming and activities. And just as a shameless plug side note, for any like young person in Orlando who wants to do free exercise, cultural learning and bonding and cool events, like Orlando Young Lions truly is a great program. If I lived in Orlando and had children, like I would 100% put them in there for all those reasons. You know how expensive like all these other sport classes are, and then you can do that in a cultural exchange and in a way that's like volunteering and beneficial to the community. It really is such a win-win-win situation program.
Yeah, it's definitely amazing. For ages 5 to 18, if you're interested in joining, please message us via Instagram or email at yesscfl@gmail.com.
You were 5 years old when you did drumming, right? First? Was that what
I
you
think
first did when you were there?
so. I started actually being a part of it and taking it seriously when I was 6,
Got
but
it.
I had to stand on a little step stool so that I could reach the drum
Oh,
for the Lions. But it was so much fun getting to be a part of that because everyone sort of like uplifted me since I was so young, and they were like, "Wow, she's so amazing and great at the
you're
drum."
really good too.
So
Yeah,
much fun.
you like knew how to keep the beat and you were strong, you know? You don't think like a cute little 6 year old would be so like strong and like on point with the drums while people are performing the dances and stuff. So yeah, that's super cool.
And I still do drum for the Orlando Young Lions, and I'm so glad that I get to teach it to more people and younger kids so that they can follow in my footsteps.
Yeah. Wow, you really do have so many creative pursuits. So it's like modeling, dance, drums. I mean, you can even argue Orlando Young Lions dancing, the crafts with yes. And I mean, honestly, even singing. Like I know you don't sing as much anymore, but you were booking gigs as a kid. And yeah, you do a lot as a creative, and that's so cool.
Yeah.
So then when it comes to your journey as Miss Central Florida's teen, how has that been for you so far? Like, is it what you expect? Is it different from when you were a kid doing pageants 5 years ago? What are your thoughts on that?
So, being a part of the Miss Florida system has been really amazing for me because I started off in the Miss Lakeland local pageant,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't win anything there, but eventually when I did sweeps, I wasn't really expecting anything. So getting to have that surprise of being able to represent Central Florida and go to the state pageant was such an honor for me. But it was definitely a little bit harder than I expected because there was a lot of Zoom meetings and speakings that we had to attend. So having to sit through those, but also learning how to have etiquette and proper posture and a straight smiling face while you're listening to those things is really important and something that I didn't really notice or thought about when I was.
Who thinks about that as like a high schooler, to be honest? You
Hmm.
know, it's not until you're put in those situations. It's like, oh, okay, never mind, gotta do what I gotta do. But um, how's the preparation been for you?
Personally, I've been using my title to go volunteer more and donate, do different things. I recently went to Orlando Fashion Week as the red carpet correspondent, and I also went in a trash fashion dress that you made, the one with the little flower in it. So
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. But
Thanks.
I got to interview all the different models, designers, people attending the show. It was so much fun to just go out there with my title and share how important this pageant system means to me, but also sustainability and things that I'm passionate about.
Yeah. And I mean, also, too, yes, Youth Enrichment Senior Services is your community service initiative, but you've really been like super involved in Teens Go Green since you weren't even a teen, you were like a baby. So like I even with the then mayor of Orange County, Teresa Jacobs, you gave her a flower hairpin that you made out of like pastry foil bottoms.
Yeah.
And she wore it and was like, that little volunteer is going to move on to do big and amazing things. And yeah, like, and then you even had your own sustainability line of like upcycled fashion with Charisma Land. And in a way, too, I feel like with Teens Go Green, you still were kind of connecting it to, yes, your platform now, because you were doing youth involvement and youth enrichment. It just was with like a sustainability twist to it in that way.
Yes, over COVID, when we were doing the Teens Go Green outreach work, we would go to the homeless shelter every week and we would just visit the kids, play with them, hang out. And we just did so much with Teens Go Green outreach as well, like storm drain labeling and just teaching sustainability in general. So I think it was amazing getting to do that and kind of connect it with Yes.
Absolutely. And honestly, I'm so glad that you and the other volunteers that were part of it then were so involved with Orlando Rescue Mission and the storm drain labeling, because I wasn't in Orlando anymore. By that time, I was either still in college or no, maybe I was still working in Miami. So I felt like I couldn't do as much with Teens Go Green as I wanted to. And honestly, it was weird because I'm not really a teenager. It's been a while. Um, but it was great for me to see like, wow, the next generation of teenagers who originally volunteered are continuing the legacy of not just like sustainability and youth involvement, but volunteerism and giving back to those who need it most. So yeah, what you did then was so beautiful. And again, it's like it's not even the surface to me. I want people to realize like you do so much and they just don't even know. Like I forgot about that, to be honest. So I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that you brought me into this and really helped me get involved with Teens Go Green and all these other volunteer platforms out there. Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. Like that, I think was more of mom's support in getting you to do those things when I wasn't in Orlando anymore, because at that point I was trying to figure out what the next steps were in my own adult life. But it is beautiful to see that, you could even continue on that legacy, or like, like maybe I started like a little path and a few steps, but then you guys also added more steps in, and then who knows, there's going to be a new generation of people that are going to help grow Teens Go Green and Yes and all the other projects and initiatives that we've done.
Yes, you walked so I could run.
Oh, I always say that. No, I mainly say that for your runway walk because it is just like so fierce.
Aw,
Yes, yes. And so I'm like, oh my God, she's so good. Like, what pageant was it? I think it was like World
perfect.
Perfect Preteen when I saw your walk, and I was like, oh, wow, who is she?
I know when I was 12, I had like this sudden urge that I was like, okay, I'm gonna do really good at my next pageant. So I went on Instagram and I went through every single girl's Instagram videos, trying to find out different walking moves, how to walk, how to move my hips when I walk, the way I put my feet. And getting to see all of those videos, I really practiced and looked in the mirror. And I think that just made me such a better walker, and I'm really glad that I did that.
I'm glad that you did that too, because it is really good. And it's funny because deja vu again, like when I competed at World's Perfect the second year, back when it was still America's Perfect Teen, I remember like back in my day, we only had DVDs, we didn't have Instagram. So we would look at the DVDs and I would slow motion like my favorite models and their poses and their techniques. And I would just draw stick figure versions of them in my notebook to be like, she flipped here, then she twirled her hair here, and then she smiled here. And I'm like, okay, let me just try that myself. And then that's how I also like, so for pageant people or model people listening to this, watch other people's videos and really study them because that will help you get far.
Yes.
I guess any tips that you have for other people that want to start getting involved in volunteering or honestly even dance or modeling?
I think definitely don't be afraid to put yourself out there and speak on different things that you want to do. But also just learn to try your best and forget the rest. This is a quote that my kindergarten teacher told me, and it stuck with me forever. I use this for everything, and I just learned to make sure that I do the best that I possibly can. But if things don't work out my way, it's not in my control, and I've learned to overcome that.
That is very true. And I do remember now that even in every pageant I compete, I'm sure even when I competed at Miss Florida's Teen my last year, it was like, you would say that, mom would text it to me, try your best and forget the rest. And then the other thing was, oh gosh, I loved it. Faith, trust, and pixie dust. That was the other one when you were 5. I was like, this is so cute. Um, but yeah, and it's amazing now that you've been able to apply that in everything else you're now doing in your life. And I guess with that said, though, where do you see kind of like your next goals or ambitions? I know there's Miss Florida's Teen coming up, but even kind of down the road, whether it's college or professionally, that you are looking into right now?
I am going to be a senior, but recently I went to this Juilliard workshop in Missouri where I got to dance, and I actually got called out in ballet class. It was such a boost of confidence because it is a big school with such amazing teachers, but it also helped me learn about improvisation and how to be creative with your movements. So Juilliard is definitely a place that I'm really looking at and I would really love to go. It's really competitive, but it would be such a dream for me. I also would love to be a professional ballerina and hopefully start a leotard brand because this is something that I've been wanting to do for a while. If you dancers know, it's really hard to find a leotard that has coverage in the front and also sweat. I don't want to have sweat stains on the
Mhm.
leotard. You have to look at all the different wickings of the fabric. And also just a leotard with a nice cut and design that's sustainably and ethically made. I think it would be so perfect for all dancers out there just like me.
Wow, that would be cool. And honestly, I'm not a dancer, but I'd be down for a convenient leotard just as like a fashionable bodysuit or who knows what that I would use in my outfits. Cause like I've always thought ballet attire is just the cutest thing, but if it's efficient for your dance too, even better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I think I also want to add too, like, yes, you were part of the Juilliard workshop, and yes, you were the Sugar Plum Fairy, but like it's kind of crazy because you technically started ballet a little bit later than most people, right?
Yeah, so I started at the age of I think 10 or 11
Mm-hmm.
and I went to Orlando Ballet, which was pretty strict. We had to wear like uniforms and
Mm-hmm.
it was a lot. But slowly I built myself up and I eventually skipped 2 levels.
Well, I was
Now,
gonna say, I don't think it was slowly. I think it was quickly. You like really like advanced in dance.
yeah, so once I skipped 2 levels, that was like the push. I was like, okay, this is going to be my thing. So
Mm-hmm.
it really seriously, but I also joined the academy program, and this is when I had to leave school early, and dance was basically my life at that point.
Yeah.
Slowly, I went into COVID and I kind of stopped dancing for a little bit. I took a little break, but I
Mm-hmm.
got competitive dancing, and this is so different from ballet because it's a lot more hours and more competitive within people. But
Mm-hmm.
it was cool to learn new styles and learn how to use my face and really push my flexibility and strength as a
Mm-hmm.
dancer. But I went back to ballet, which is, it feels like home, but it's
Mm-hmm.
so that I get to experience both sides of different studios and different places. So it's made me really the dancer who I am today.
Yeah, because I couldn't believe you skipped two levels because I don't think people know this either, but I too did ballet and I was terrible. So I'm like, I think I stayed on the same level for 4 years. So for you to skip two levels is like, holy cow, especially if you started at, I would say, like a later age. For, some girls, they did the serious professional ballet, or at least one of those more intensive Russian ballet schools, since they were like 5 years old. A lot of
Hmm.
them. You feel like you had to like practice extra even outside the studio, or like that's why you would always walk on your tiptoes when you would go like upstairs and stuff. Like, what do you think it was that pushed you to like get up two levels and kind of now like do workshops at Juilliard?
Well, I definitely didn't expect it as a little level one 10-year-old baby, but
Mm-hmm.
I would stretch my feet every morning and I would really push myself. But once I skipped two levels, that was really the moment that I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. And this is what I love to do. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm really glad that I got that experience because it really pushed me to be the dancer I am.
Yeah, and I feel like you spend how many hours a day or a week with something related to dance?
So right now during the summer, I've spent some time off, but every time I go to the gym, I'm always practicing my solo for Miss Florida's teen.
Hmm.
I am going to be doing some privates soon, but during the actual school year, I would dance every day except for Fridays and Sundays.
Hmm.
So it was definitely a lot
And how
because,
many hours are those classes?
yeah, it was from like 4 to 8. So around 4 hours, yeah. It was a little stressful, but all definitely so worth it. Especially taking Saturday morning classes because after Friday night, when you're having fun with your friends, and then you have to wake up early and go to ballet, but it's all really worth it in the end.
That's awesome. Oh, it's so good to hear. I feel like we did cover a lot of stuff. Let me see if there's anything else that I put honey. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot to ask. Um, how did you like your experience being a TLC reality star?
Okay, so back at it with the food again. This was so because every time there was any sort of meal or break or anything, it was, do you want anything from Starbucks? You want anything from this restaurant? That restaurant? So basically, I would just order whatever I wanted. And it would be like, I would get two desserts and a drink with like 50 million ingredients in it and like three cake pops. It was.
I was gonna say I do remember the cake pops from Starbucks you'd always get. Yes.
Hmm. But also, the actual filming part was definitely interesting because I had never done anything like that. So I felt like I was doing a commercial, but I wasn't given any instructions. I was just going along with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that was for all of us. I mean, at least we had some like camera experience, but reality TV is just kind of like, okay, do this and goodbye. And then you go from there.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. So then tell me, along with the other many charity stuff that you've been involved with on your own and with our whole family, how was your experience with Miss Miracle and Model for Miracles for Children's Miracle Network?
So, Children's Miracle Network was a big part of my life as I would go around in a little cow dress in Chick fil A selling the little toy cows and different things to raise funds for Children's Miracle Network hospitals, but also being a part of the Miss Miracle system and pageant fashion show was really fun because I got to go around and sell things. I felt like a little entrepreneur selling raffle tickets, walking around and doing all of that stuff. So being a part of that was such an amazing experience, but there were a few silly moments when we were in it. One specifically was that One of the girls was walking.
I do want to add, you also were a miracle champion where you walked a few of the kids from Children's Miracle Network hospitals and you took them on the red carpet limo ride. You helped them with their like runway walk before the fashion show, you even crowned them, gave them the trophy. It was all so wonderful, so wholesome, so sweet. But the part that was ridiculous, was this girl. I competed with her in pageants. She's really awesome. And she ended up winning the pageant, so it was all good. But when she did her evening gown, my younger brother was the DJ because we were all just trying to make a difference. And our wonderful friend, Giovanina Vanessa, is such a great help for all the charities and activities that we do. And she's usually really good with like running like a pageant production. And she's like, this isn't the gown music I had. So she changes the music, which was just some random like instrumental beat. And as goes on stage and does her hip, pivot turn, I kid you not, it's MC Hammer and his first line. Don't touch this.
Also, keep in mind, this was the part right when she put her hand on her butt.
Exactly.
It was just perfect comedic timing, huh?
It was like something out of a TV show. It was so funny. And I feel like everybody in the audience just didn't know how to react. They were like, what just happened? And then afterwards, we all laughed about it later. But how is your experience with social media, not just as Miss Central Florida's teen, but even just as an overall teenager?
Well, I'm actually a big fan of social media because it gives me a nice outlet to share things that I'm passionate about. And with the Miss Central Florida's teen title, it's really given me more of a voice to share what I'm passionate about. Recently, I've been posting so consistently on Instagram and my Miss Central Florida teen account, but it's been so amazing to get to share that on social media. I also love using TikTok, as everyone does basically in my generation. It's
Mm-hmm.
so much fun. Me, Elizabeth, and all the siblings, we have a little siblings group chat and we spam each other with TikToks and Instagram reels, everything of that sort.
That is how we communicate. That is basically, we send each other reels, memes, and post other things. And that's how we know what's going on in each other's lives. Absolutely. But yes, I think probably if it's not my favorite, it's at least like top three favorite things about you having the Miss Central Florida's teen title now is that you post about all the amazing things you do. So it's like, I've seen it, but now everybody else gets to see it too. And now you can like look back on it because for me it was like that was Facebook and now I can look back on my Facebook or my Facebook memories pop up again and I'm like wow. I mean honestly that's my Facebook memories of you where I'm like oh my god I wore that shirt for my Miss Central Florida's teen headshot. What are the odds? It's just so crazy. Oh, actually speaking of the Miss Florida organization, I had to ask a thing. What was your experience like being a Sunshine Princess in Florida and also the Miss America's Teen Camp?
It was definitely really fun. I remember hanging out with all the other little girls, watching the shows, doing all those things because as a young pageant girl, I was really involved in all of those little sister programs with the Miss Florida organization, Miss America, Princess Camp,
Mm-hmm.
the USA program. So it was definitely cool to get to see all of the little princess camps.
You were friends with like a few of the national winners too, like Leah Sykes. You were her princess, and you were like, "I think you're gonna win," and then she did, and you're like, "I told you." And then, I think it was like Rachel Wyatt as well. So you've just been so involved in the entire Miss America's Teen organization since before birth. But okay, I think that's basically wraps it up. So signing off, she is the reigning Miss Central Florida's teen and my personal little sister, Charisma Tran.